Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to Tanie Codes. In this tutorial we're going to talk about strings. So basically we're going to talk about how to manipulate strings, how to get different data from strings, and generally how to use strings and understand them. So before we start, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment in the comment section, and also share this video to anyone who you think might be interested in learning C++. And let's get right into it. So today I'll be using Visual Studio 2019. So strings are basically plain text. Any plain text that you might think of, those are usually called strings. So let's create our new project, our console app, and then we're gonna name this Working with Strings. Okay, and then we're gonna create. So basically when you wanna use strings or wanna type in strings on your IDE, basically you need to put these open and close quotation marks and put anything that you want to be output on your console. So I'm just gonna type in so basically whatever I've put inside of this quotation marks is going to be executed when I run my program. So let's see. So yeah, basically our console is going to output where you're coding crown with pride. So another thing I want to talk about is our end line. So if we were to write something else inside our quotation marks, maybe tanie codes, and run this program, basically they're going to be in the same line, in the sense that you can see it's see out where you're coding crown with pride and then see out tanie codes. Even though here and on our IDE we can see that they're in different lines, but when we run this code it's going to be in the same line in our console. So let me quickly demonstrate that. As you can see, where you're coding crown with pride and also tanie codes are in the same line. So you have to put in a command that's gonna separate these different lines and put in two lines instead. So you wanna put in a \n, or you wanna put in these operators over here and n line. So these both are n lines. They're gonna put in n lines on your two line of program. So it's gonna be where you're coding crown with pride, and then the second line is gonna be tanie codes, and let me quickly demonstrate that. So as you can see, where you're coding crown with pride is in its own line and tanie codes is on the other line. So as I said in my video, we're going to talk about how to manipulate string. In addition of printing this string over here, tanie codes, and where you're coding crown with pride, I can also store a string inside a variable. So all I need to do is string, which is our data type, and then the name of our variable, so it's gonna be motor, and then we're gonna assign, so this string we're gonna assign it to where you're coding crown with pride. What we've done here is we've stored our phrase where you're coding crown with pride in motor with our data type string. So basically what we can do after doing this, we can call this variable and we can just say cout and put in the name of the variable. So basically what this is going to do is going to put out this very same thing where you're coding crown with pride, So let's run this and see. So as you can see on our console, it's writing where you're coding crown with pride 2 times, and here on our IDE we wrote where you're coding crown with pride here, and here we just called the variable. So this works when you're trying to write a paragraph maybe 13 times on your console. So instead of hard coding the paragraph 13 times, which is time consuming, mind you can just declare it as a variable, and then you can just call it no matter how many times you want. It's gonna write where you're coding crown with pride as many times as we call it. So this is a very effective way of using strings, and it's very simple and it doesn't take a lot of time. As you can see, where your coding crown is pride, where your coding crown is pride, where your coding crown is pride, where your coding crown is pride. So here I didn't put in my end lines, that's why it's in the same line. So if you want it to look neat and beautiful, you can just put your end lines at the end. This was just a demonstration on how you can use strings as variables. In addition of like storing our variables, you can also manipulate your string in different ways using string functions. So basically string functions are, it's like a block of code we can call so that it can perform different tasks on our string. So we can call it maybe to find the length of our string, to find a specific number in our string, to find how many indexes are in our string, to remove a certain character inside our string, or just to output a certain character in our string without actually going through your phrase or whatever you've written inside your strings. So let me quickly demonstrate that, and let me delete all these. If you have declared a variable using your string, you can just say motor, which is our variable name, dot, maybe I want to find the length of our string. So I want to find the length of where your coding crown is pride. So I want to find how many characters are in that sentence. So I can just say motor dot length, and then put this open and close parentheses. So basically what this function is gonna do is going to count how many characters are in our where your coding crown is pride sentence. So let me run this and let's see our results. So as you can see in our results in our console, we have 33. So in that where your coding crown with pride sentence, we have 33 characters. So in addition of counting how many characters are in our where your coding crown is pride sentence, we can also access individual characters inside our sentence. So what we're gonna do is we're going to write our variable name, which is motor, and put in these square brackets. And then you might be familiar with the square brackets if you are on arrays, which is something you're gonna do later in this course. So inside these square brackets, you're gonna put the character number that you want to access. So this 0 here is gonna refer to this W over here. So let's run our program and see. So as you can see, our console is executing W. So W referring to our first character. So in C++, when you calculate indexes, we start from index number 0. So which means there's going to be index number 0, number 1, number 2, number 3. So we do not say this is index number 1. Instead, we start from index number 0. So our W is going to be index number 0, is going to be index number 1, index number 2, and then R index number 3. If we wanted to access this R over here, we can just say index number 3, and then it's gonna execute an R. So like I said before, when you calculate indexes, we start from a 0. So the first character is going to be a 0, then 1, 2, 3, etc. You can see we're receiving an R from our console. Another thing I could do is actually modify a specific character in our where your coding crown is pride sentence. So maybe instead of putting a W, I could put a T. I'm going to say motor, and then I'm gonna put in this square brackets, and I'm gonna put 0. I said indexes start from 0, so we're gonna modify this W and we're gonna put it a T. So we're going to say 0 and then equal to, and we're gonna put our single quotation marks. Remember, when you put in characters, we put in single quotation marks. So we're gonna say T. So basically what we're doing here, our where you're coding crown pride, our W, which is our index 0, is going to change into a T because we've modified it here. We've called the variable, which is motor, and then we put it index number 0. We specified which index we want to access, which is 0, which is where, and then we assign it to T. So let's run our code in. So now you can see, instead of saying where your coding crown is pride, now it's saying here your coding crown is pride. So we've modified that W and we put in T. So this works when you want to modify your project. Another thing you can do is to find a specific character inside your sentence that your where your coding crown is pride. So with that, we're going to use our find string function. So we're going to say, let me remove this sentence over here. So we're going to say motor dot find. Remember I said when you're calling a function we use dot find or dot whatever. So we're going to say, we're gonna put in our parentheses, and inside our parentheses we're going to put in our parameters, so our instructions rather, or our task, or what we want to find. So we're going to learn more about parameters when we do our if statement and our else statements, basically our control statements. So maybe I want to find where, like where your coding crown pride. I want to find the word where, and I want to see where, if it is there in our sentence. So I'm just going to put in our double quotation marks and I'm going to type in where. So your second argument or your second parameter is going to be where you want to start looking, where you want your computer to start looking. So maybe if I was looking for the word pride, I would maybe tell my computer to start looking from index number
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Maybe from index number 8, which is our coding, which is our C. So in the next parameter, you just type in where you want your computer to start looking for that specific word. So in my instead I want to where, so obviously I'm going to tell my computer to start looking from the very first index, because as you can see your where is in your very first letter, it's your very first word. In some instances you wouldn't know where exactly is your word, so you would want to say 0, so that maybe the word that you're looking for is the first word. So if you're going to say maybe index number 8, which means it's going to skip the first word and the second word maybe, and then jump into the third word where your index number 8 is. So I want to look for where. Basically what the computer is going to output is going to output where the letter W starts, so where the word where starts. Another function I want to show you guys is called a substring. So a substring also takes two parameters. So we're gonna say substr, substring, and we're gonna put in our open and close parentheses, and inside this open and close parentheses we're going to put in our parameters, our argument. So substring allows us to output a part of a string. So if I wanted to output maybe coding, then if for example my first parameter is 4, so basically it's going to start looking or start grabbing whatever character is my fourth index. So it's going to start grabbing from R and then up to whatever character or whatever integer I put in next. So my next parameter is going to be a 3. What's here is in our parameter is going to start looking from my fourth index, and it's gonna grab any 3 characters that are there. So if my fourth index is Y, it's going to grab our, so it's going to grab whatever characters that are after my index. So these are my parameters, these are my instructions, my arguments, what I want the computer to do. As that was all for this tutorial. So in my next video I'm going to talk about integers. So I'm gonna try and explain more about integers and how we can manipulate and use them effectively. So don't forget to click that notification bell so that you can be notified when I publish this video. Thank you for watching.